everyone. My name is Abi Soye. I'm the network development producer at OKRE. Today, I'm joined by the team. So let me go through. So the first person we have is Rebecca Mark Lawson, who is the producer at Tyke Films. We've got in different positions to my notes, but no, it's me. We have Rosie Morris, who's a filmmaker, and we have Dr. Aphrodite Pina, who is a reader in forensic psychology. Hello. Thank you for being here today. Let's dive right in. I think the first thing I want to talk about is the development period. When we spoke previously, you emphasized the importance of an extended development period. Could you talk to me about how that increased time helped you develop the story?
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare to get funding for development in documentary, so it's always a great bonus. But I think OKRE has a very particular focus, so we were able to join up with Aphrodite, which was just incredible, and just really think about our framework, you know, how we were going to protect Helen. So I think if you're doing something about image-based abuse, you're always going to, in a way, re-traumatize the victim, and Helen in this case. And I think that's one of the things that we really discussed, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was. And I mean, obviously coming into it as an academic, I had no experience with film whatsoever. But I was immediately put at ease when I understood what your vision was and what you wanted to do with the project, and the fact that we discussed re-victimization and also victim blaming, and I knew we were all on the same page. So I was made to feel very at ease from the get-go.
Yeah, and I guess, like, for me, I want the ethical complexities of the story to kind of drive the creative approach. And with a story like this, there's loads of risk in a way, but to have an extended period of development meant that every decision in the film has kind of come from conversations with Helen, and then those conversations have then broadened to the whole team to just kind of make sure we're looking at everything from every angle to see if this is an okay way to tell a story like this. But also, I think keeping in mind the kind of drive, why tell the story, and the drive to tell the story, and making sure that for Helen, the risk of telling the story is kind of in balance with how much she feels driven to tell it, to drive change, which actually she has done, because last week the government announced that the creation of deepfakes is now illegal. And when we first started talking to Helen 2 years ago, a big part of her experience was that she'd been told nothing had really happened to her. So I think, like, as much as there's a big risk for Helen in telling the story, it was important that if we could tell it in a safe way, as safe as possible, it enabled her to kind of illuminate that experience for other people.
Thank you. And just as I think a question that, for me, when you say an extended development period, what is like a normal development period? Is there such a thing?
I don't think there is a normal development period. I mean, previous films, we've developed it for 10 years, 5 years. I mean, we actually made this over 2.5 years, didn't we? Which is a long time for a short. It's only 18 minutes. But also it was quite a new thing that was becoming very popular in the press, and people wanted to know a lot more about it. So there was a sense that we had to get the film out there and tell the story. But I think it allowed us to bring Helen in as a collaborator as well, didn't it? That extended development period, which was really nice.
Okay, and actually going into that process with Helen, but also with yourself, Aphrodite, you've mentioned that Aphrodite's participation is invaluable in all of this. How did you make sure that her insights were incorporated in the edit stage, especially if you've done work before and now she's come in? How did you go through that?
I mean, it started in the development stage. Obviously, you're preparing questions, thinking about how to film Helen. I mean, one of the things that we decided to do very early on is obviously not to talk about the perpetrator and not to show any of the images. So that was one of the kind of rules that we put down for ourselves very early on. So when you're coming into the edit, we've already got a very good kind of communication. So it's just about talking to you about what footage we were including and showing Aphrodite the edits and just keeping her informed and listening to what she was saying, you know.
I think there's one particular incident that I remember because there wasn't a lot that I felt, you know, uncomfortable with at all. In fact, I was very impressed by it. But there was, I think there was a scene where Helen has a young boy, and I guess she was very keen, obviously, to show her role as a mother in the film as well. But coming at it from a psychological perspective, obviously, we've got an underage person in the film. So it's about thinking of the little boy's privacy, the recognition, like how recognizable is the route to the school, for example, how recognizable might some parents be that, people could locate where that child is going to school and things like that. And when I mentioned that to you, it was just, it was, we'll sort it out, and it was sorted out, and it was brilliant. Like, I didn't feel that there was any kind of, push or anything like that. It was brilliant.
And I think that's a really good example of, like, when you're making a film and you want to be led by the person whose story you're trying to kind of walk alongside, and you don't want to deny that person to be seen fully as in their life as a mother, but kind of through us empathizing with Helen, we probably had a bit of a blind spot about how, like, some of the risks involved in that. But then once we'd made the changes that you suggested, we do see that Helen has a son in the film, but we just don't see him really.
Yeah.
And that then actually becomes a strength, like a creative strength of the film. So it's this whole thing of constantly looking at things from every angle and actually thinking, finding the right framework will strengthen the form of the film. So it's not separate from the creative approach. It's all kind of embedded.
Okay. And do you feel that, especially for yourself, coming in, that everything that you contributed to, or everything that you said, like how freely did you feel you were able to contribute? I mean, your opinions, your research.
Freedom.
Yeah.
It was
your first time
It
doing
was
it,
my very first time.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, as academics, we do get contacted by people who are producing shows, and they want, to ask us questions, and normally that never leads anywhere, but we, we tell our opinions. But this time, it was a first for me because I was included from the beginning. I could see the vision. I knew what the ladies wanted to do with the film, Rosie and Rebecca and Helen. I met Helen. I'm afraid I didn't know Helen's story before, even though this is my area of research. I wasn't just aware of that particular story. But I felt that they wanted me there for that purpose, to make sure that, Helen's protected, and that, there's aftercare, and there's all of the considerations that could bring risks into the film. So I felt that that's my responsibility. So that kind of that made me feel more at ease with saying, maybe reconsider this. And the response was amazing. Like, I didn't feel at all that I was, impinging on someone's work and making it harder for people. It was brilliant. I don't know what the norm is, but my experience was amazing. My experience was really good.
I mean, it was just a joy to work with somebody like Aphrodite, who is top of her game. She knows everything there is to know about it. She had a real sense of understanding how to work with Helen, and then went on to support Helen individually as well during the release.
Yeah, I think, if I may, I think this was the really important thing, because a lot of times we do things and, people want to tell their story, and that's great, but they don't really appreciate what comes with the publicity and with the kind of scratching the surface again of something, of a wound, so to speak. So speaking with Helen and talking to her about, with a colleague of mine, Christiana Iordano, who is a mental health practitioner, we sort of split it together. I talked about safety online, simple steps that she could have, she could do to protect herself further when everything is going to come out. And then Christiana focused on the coping mechanisms. And I felt that this was one of the really, really key things, to be able to offer aftercare to the person who's telling the story.
So just to put it into context, where the film went out on the Guardian documentaries platform, which is seen by millions of viewers. So it is quite a kind of, it's quite a big thing for somebody. So we worked with her very carefully to kind of prepare her for what might happen on the social channels, what she was prepared to do, how to protect herself and her family when it went out. So,
yeah, and for something like this, it's been an eye-opener seeing how people can react and try and discredit somebody who's sharing an experience like this. It's shocked me. Yeah. So she needed that support. And to be able to keep in balance the kind of mission that she was on in trying to share this experience with her own mental well-being. And this has been amazing, because otherwise you can't really take that responsibility you need a kind of team around that.
Do you know what? It's interesting you say that, because I was at the screening at Parliament and you all looked like a team. And, it was like you supported each other, you held each other up. And so that was really powerful to see, especially with such a sensitive topic. So, yeah, it's felt, definitely. We're really proud at OKRE that we were able to support and be a part of this project. Is there anything about the process that you'd like to talk about, or to offer support for anybody else that will go for this type of funding as well? Is there anything that stood out? That you were encouraged by, that you would, give feedback, from anything like that?
I mean, I'd worked with Ian and some of the team before at Welcome in the previous iteration, actually on a mental health project. So I kind of had some experience, but I feel like with OKRE just being, for development and giving us that time and the platform to be able to, you guys connected us with Aphrodite, which was amazing. So you have that kind of, you're working with the best in the business, the people that know the most about the issues that you're trying to portray. So that support is really important.
Yeah, and this kind of sense that it's not about rushing things and just output, it's about bringing rigour to what you're doing, and everybody wants you to do that. Everybody is invested in this, having the time to be told in the best possible way, in the safest possible way, in the most impactful way. Like, that's amazing to have that behind you, yeah.
Thank you. And as a researcher, is there anything within the process that stood out to you, that you were even surprised by?
I was surprised by the whole thing, because, being on the research side, obviously, all of these things. You know what's happening. You know why people, you want to discover why people do it. You know what victims are going through. But it was an eye-opening experience to see Helen and meet Helen and see how, see the strength that she has and the determination and the focus that, she wanted to tell her story. She had a vision, and that, you did such an incredible work. I was blown away by the aesthetic of it. Because I'm used to things, being very perfunctory and detailed and, here's what happened and here's the images. But this was beautiful. This was a first for me. So knowing that research can feed into a process, an artistic process like this, was an eye-opening experience for me, for sure.
Interesting, yeah. And I think it's an amazing thing when someone says, here's my story, and I'm not a filmmaker, you figure out how to communicate this, and you're like, right, we've really got to do this, and we've got to make people, with something like this, which we felt could have been dismissed as it was by the police, nothing's really happened, there's nothing we can do, we just felt like we have to put you as close as possible in that experience so you can walk alongside Helen through it and try to understand. And all of it was like, that's the endeavour. however you're going to do it, that's the endeavour.
You definitely did. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time today. And you can check out the film in the exhibition centre. Space? It's like I'm a rookie at this.
You're
Thank you guys for your time. And,
Thank you.
enjoy the rest of the session.